his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And he was he was removed because it was a code red. It was an an unauthorized operation, a rogue operation, a cartel infiltration into Fort Bliss. And Richard was a whistleblower reporting the cartel infiltration and its connection to the orchestrated 2019 Walmart mass shooting that targeted President Trump. Okay, it targeted President Trump, and Richard was reporting um, his his unit has direct ties to the Walmart mass shooting case, and that is confirmed. There's just, it's just confirmed. And so we have a lot of breaking news today. And I did go through, I'm coming on a little bit later just because I went through some photographs, some videos, just to, pull some things together. I'll even use the Facebook posts that I've posted that will help, connect all the dots for everybody, because there are operatives out there, online operatives, millions of dollars are spent on online operatives to confuse people. And, and they'll say, oh, this is a rabbit hole. No, this is clear evidence. This is facts. We're talking about our son's life, our son's remains here, and all of the filings that we have filed so much with so many different agencies and institutions on both sides of the border that, we're not here to mess around. They could absolutely, um, uh, they would be on the news saying that this was a rabbit hole, but it's not. There's no tinfoil hat. There's no rabbit hole. This is just clear facts that we're giving to you. That we have, 6 years every day um, investigated what happened to our son, what happened to El Paso. We have very, very close connection to El Paso and White Sands Missile Range. I was born um, on White Sands Missile Range. I wasn't born at William Beaumont. Okay, I wasn't born there. I was born on White Sands Missile Range. One of the very few babies ever born on White Sands Missile Range. There's not many. And so we have a long history. I went to school. Of course, I lived on Fort Bliss later on, and went to school in El Paso. Um, so, we have close ties to El Paso and White Sands, which is in Donna Ana County, New Mexico. And that's, a lot of information that we have is from personal experience and connections from that area. And going over to Juarez all the time. We used to go over there all the time. Um, and of course, when this happened to Richard, we went over probably 3 dozen times, um, maybe more. Went over to Juarez, and so yeah, let's get started. He was forcibly removed. He was taken down to the basement room, and I did post that picture up with the treasonous Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. He got a star for being treasonous. He got a star. So that tells you the condition that our Congress is in, our Senate is in. We know that our Senate is is very compromised, very infiltrated. There's no other way to say it, and our judicial system is very infiltrated. I mean, they want to try to block any kind of good thing that's happening in the United States right now. Like the Kennedy Center is falling apart. We know it's falling apart. And they just blocked, um, the revamping of that beautiful place that is absolutely crumbling. You know, they will spend billions of dollars on the Federal Reserve building. They won't say anything about that. Billions, way overpriced, way over budget. And they don't say anything about that. And yet, when it comes to repairing our Kennedy Center for the arts in Washington, D.C., when it comes to repairing our reflecting pool in Washington, D.C., that was also absolutely a disgrace. They complain and they'll put lawsuits in when it comes to the parks and anything to beautify, to add a ballroom onto the White House, which our White House absolutely needed a ballroom. They go crazy. They absolutely go crazy. These leftists, these people that are just orcs, they just want to live in an orky world, right? Of filth and decay and mold and mildew. And, they want to live in plenitude crematorium. That's where they want to live. No air condition, no potable water, piles of dead bodies everywhere that have, uniforms on and evidence of torture. That's what they want. That's what they created. And that's what Maru Campos, the El Chapo fentanyl governor of Chihuahua, was defending, what she was hiding. Matter of fact, what her mother was allowing to happen, because her mother was the health inspector. Her mother was supposed to give them a permit and go and inspect that place. And because, of Rosa Maria purchase Ariana Curan and her family, and being contractors with Maru Campos's um, administration. What they want is just to embezzle. They want these big fat contracts. They don't want any kind of they don't want the government to work properly. She wants the CIA and the FBI and the DEA agents that are compromised to be on her payroll. The ATF, the DPS. The DPS is totally compromised, and they were over. She admits it on her video, on her media tour, that they were, there, and they were in her office buildings, and Carlos Manuel Salas, her prosecutor for the North Zone, and the office buildings, double dipping, right? Double dipping, taking from the American taxpayers and then going over as traders to Chihuahua, Mexico, working for the El Chapo fentanyl governor, Maru Campos, with M4s. With M4s, did they come from Fort Bliss? Because those M4s, if they're automatic, um, uh, you know, uh, most likely that would be the number one place they would come from. And that would be, theft. That would be theft. Um, and then they're taking pay from the Chihuahuan community, the Chihuahuan taxpayer. This is a world they want. They want rot. They want pollution. And they'll talk all pretty. They'll talk all pretty that, oh, we have to care for everything. But yet they are building a tower to house a major surveillance drone operation, AI drone operation to surveil everybody, to spy on everybody, and to, look directly at Fort Bliss, and have the 18th floor just for all those compromised U.S. agents, that she absolutely commits treason against her homeland. And so she's in big trouble. The evidence is, the evidence is there. The, the, but it's a battle because she's facilitated by, the El Paso cartel, right? The conglomerate, the cartel shadow state, um, that have, embedded themselves, dug in for decades. And there's no doubt about it. They have a lot of embedded traders, and on both sides of the border, and so they have a cartel conglomerate, um a a shadow state, um, on both sides, but not loyal to anybody, right? They're not loyal to the United States. They're not loyal to their oaths. That's why Alejandra de la Vega Foster, who's the double agent, could swear an oath. This tells you what a fraud, what a fake, what a lowlife she is, to the Mexican Constitution, at the same time raise her hand to the Texas Constitution, to the U.S. Constitution under Greg Abbott, and serve Greg Abbott's administration. That's why Maru Campos is facilitated by her. And let's get the picture up right here. Here's the picture of the two of them. And she really does look, like this demon double agent that she is. Facilitating fraud, facilitating theft, facilitating Plenitude Crematorium gore, organ harvesting, um, uh, criminal trafficking. Um, you know, when you have something like the El Paso cartel shadow state, you have a decision. You can make everything amazing, beautiful, safe, criminal free, or you can use it to exploit the people, um, manipulate them into having to pay for bonds that you collect on, um, putting forth uh, a criminal trafficking pipeline for children to be misused in the worst type of way, for women to be misused in the worst type of way. You can allow all of these illicit drugs that destroy so many lives across the border. You can embezzle. You can, like I said, organ harvest, baby harvest, all of the problems that are there, that are there, that absolutely it built a system that allowed a U.S. Army soldier's body, well, to be murdered on Fort Bliss, and then for his body to be stolen and to be trafficked over the border, okay, for disposal. Now, clearly, Alejandra de la Vega Foster. Oh, and all the fuel theft. Okay. When I say Foster, I think of her husband, and I think of the Pemex fuel theft that he had to pay $42 million in a settlement. I bet that was a bargain compared to the billions of barrels of oil that were stolen, and we know that even continued after. Um, so, why would you want to steal from the people if you were a philanthropist, right? If you were benevolent, right? If you wanted something good, right? Um, no, what these two have proven is that they want a world where you step in and it looks like Plenitude Crematorium. Um, Rat infested, rotting, dead bodies, no potable water, no air condition. The smell knocks you over, and everybody lives in hell. That's what they want because that's what they created. It was Maru Campos and her mother, facilitated by Alejandro de la Vega, that created Plenitude Crematorium, where they were giving fake ashes to families while they were flesh peddling. It's just, and we know that the organ harvesting was a big part of this, um, and the baby harvesting because they targeted pregnant women. So I don't know if these women, from my knowledge, neither one of them has a child, um, which tells you a lot too. Which tells you a lot, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll be corrected on that, but I don't think so. So I am skipping. I might be skipping. Yeah. Uh, so this is the faces that I really want everyone to know that don't be fooled by them. Do not be fooled by them. They are up to no good. They are up to no good. Okay. So I have just a lot of little tabs open. I want to play a video for you. And this is connected to El Paso and Fort Bliss, and I'm going to explain why. This is the rocket that just exploded. This is Bezos' rocket, blue. Anyway, it's late, but this is his rocket that exploded, and it is huge. And I just want to watch it with you, and I'm going to connect the dots. Now, Bezos, sorry, here it goes. Look at that. Wow. Now, this was at Cape Canaveral in Florida. Okay. This was in Cape Canaveral in Florida. That was the aftershock. It was huge. Absolutely huge. Let's watch it again. Um, that was on the evening of May 28th, just a couple days ago. And I have another view of it. Let's see if I can. I want to put it up because I want to connect the dots. I don't know if it's working. So, connecting the dots, and I'm sure I can get it up when let me close some of these out. and see if my computer works a little bit better. Everything's running because I have so many things open that I wanted to show everybody. Okay, that should help it. You can tell that's why I don't do this too often, because I'm a one-man show and this is just, okay. We'll use this. Yeah, the Blue Origin. The Blue Origin. Okay, so, and I have a video, it's coming up now, that is the Blue Origin that is from 50 miles away. And I really want to show that because it is just jaw-dropping, okay? 50 miles away. Here we go. Okay, finally. Thank you all for being so patient. This is from 50 miles away, the explosion. This is when you're on a JetBlue plane, and that's what you see. That is how huge this explosion is. Now, clearly, I mean, look at that. That is just absolutely jaw-dropping. Wow. Look at, and why is this important to us? And because, of course, this brings up a lot of information in our son's case. And rockets, rocketeering, missiles have always been a very big part of our lives and our family because that's what my dad did. He worked on Nike and Hercules and that program with the German scientists that were brought over under Operation Paperclip. That's why I was born on White Sands. They had a huge operation there. They brought over the Luftwaffe. Yes, these were scientists that were working under the Dritte Reich, the Nazi regime, and they brought them over because of their advanced technology in propulsion. And of course, all of that hoovering, right? The hoovering. And so a lot of these like alien crafts and everything that was going on there, the sightings and all of that, the drones, that kind of drone looking thing that we didn't know what they were. Now we're so used to drones and all different kinds of drones and um, the jet propulsion, the magnetic ability to hover. And, um, these are the things that, of course, my dad loved, and he worked on these missiles, and that was just a big part of our family. And this is why our son Richard wanted to join ADA, right? He wanted that air defense artillery. Um, was in the family. And this is why we know about all the tunnels. Um, eh, when we were told, I think there's tunnels, I'm like, well, you don't have to think there's tunnels. I know there are tunnels because of my dad told me that there were all kinds of tunnels under Fort Bliss. And um, this it's has a huge grid. Fort Bliss or El Paso does. There's tunnels all over El Paso, underneath El Paso. And, in these last couple years since President Trump, that has been revealed because he's closed up some of these main smuggling tunnels that they were using from Juarez into El Paso and vice versa. And so all of this history is very relevant to our son's case because the Germans were there. The Germans came. They were on Biggs Air Force. The Luftwaffe was there. They were there until 2022. Just recently is when they were closed down and they all finally left. I knew that they were there because my parents, my dad, being um, well, he was born in Oregon, but he was born to German parents. That my grandfather was an immigrant that came through New York, Ellis Island. Um, so uh, my father spoke German. Of course, my mother is German. She received her citizenship, her classes and everything in El Paso. And I already posted the pictures when she became a citizen of the United States. She had to give up her German citizenship to be an American citizen. And she took it very, very seriously. Um, she learned how to speak English. She learned how to speak English by, watching a lot of TV and studying hard. She used to iron uniforms for extra money. And while she was ironing, she said she would watch As the World Turns or General Hospital or whatever. And that's how she really learned how to speak English. Um, so we know they were part of the German American Club. And during that time, a airman came to El Paso also, and his name was Alexander Gerhard Hoffmann Roth. And he is one of the targeted victims from the orchestrated Walmart mass shooting that happened on August 3rd, 2019. So, people don't talk about this German that was absolutely targeted execution style. Execution style, there's no doubt about it, okay? And it wasn't Patrick Crusius that did the dirty crime, okay? It wasn't Patrick Crusius. We have absolutely um, all the evidence that shows that I don't know who shot him, but it wasn't Patrick Crusius. And he's a German citizen, not a Mexican citizen, not an American citizen, even though when he came over in the 1970s and 80s, as a Luftwaffe airman, he never, even though he married uh, a Mexican citizen from Juarez. They divorced in 2001. He never relinquished his German citizenship and took on a Mexican citizenship or an American one. He didn't do it. He always stayed a German. And on that day, our information tells us that he was on his way back to Germany. So in 2019, he was on his way back to Germany, and he stopped at the Cielo Vista Walmart in El Paso, Texas. I don't know what took him there. I know that he was executed there. He was targeted, um, and it is very suspicious that he, they formed the narrative that it was Mexicans that were targeted. Um, and I'm not saying that Mexicans weren't targeted. I'm saying that Americans and Germans and Mexicans were targeted that day. And so, the narrative was not correct. And he was really um, not a bystander, accidentally shot. He was absolutely the target, one of the targets, and so was Maria Eugenia Lagaret wrote. She was absolutely targeted also, and they just happen to have the same last name. It's just really wow. Um, and so, a good investigation would tell us more, right? But the investigation is botched. And we know that the family uh, that his family ties are ties to 14388. We know that they're tied to the Walmart mass shooting case. We know that they are frauds. Okay, they're fraudsters, that they've tampered with documents, that they have obstructed Richard's case, that they were in possession of Richard's credit cards after Richard was dead. We know that they collected unlawfully uh, from Walmart mass shooting victims funds. Um, so uh, Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote is a huge part in our son's case, and he came over through the German Luftwaffe, and people don't talk about that. They don't talk about the big, these disappearing scientists connection to all of this, right? Because a lot of these German scientists that were really, um, if anyone knows about Germans, you want Germans to do your if you're building a house, you want them to do your electricity, you want them to do your plumbing. They are just really very, very amazing at those technical, um, um, what do you want me to jobs, I guess I can say jobs. Um, so it's for them to be brought over is not a mystery if you wanted to develop a an air defense um, in your military. And so that is why that is all very, very relevant, because it moved from missiles to drones. Okay. We are absolutely moving from missiles to drones and the drone surveillance. And we had the airspace over El Paso shut down, didn't we? And that was because of a drone. And then, of course, Veronica Escobar, the liar, she's just up to no good, y'all. She is so bad. I should put her face right next to um Alejandro de la Vega Foster's and Maria Eugenia Galvan Campos, or Campos Galvan, or whatever, Maru Campos's face, because she's just really up to no good. And and they are, and I should put Beto O'Rourke's face in there with them too, right? This whole El Paso cartel shadow state. Um, and uh, I lost my train of thought with Veronica Escobar, because all I can think about is everything I know about her, which is so evil. Her and her husband, the immigration judge, so evil, y'all. They just really exploit innocent people and tell so many lies. Um, and oh yeah, about the drones over El Paso, she was like, oh, it was just a balloon, a party balloon, blah, blah. No, you don't shut down airspace because of a party balloon. And if anybody believes that, then, they don't understand the level of surveillance that they're under, the cameras, and how powerful these drone surveillances are, and also the high altitude, huge balloons. Okay, and we saw a picture. That they said it was a Chinese balloon. I don't know. I don't know if it was a Chinese balloon. They say it's a Chinese balloon, but these balloons are huge, huge. They're high altitude, high pressure, air balloons, and they carry all kinds of surveillance equipment. And um, because of the way the jet streams are, you can launch these high altitude balloons, and they're launched from White Sands, and you can launch them into an airstream, and then you can direct it pretty easily, and really surveil so much, right? So much. That's why NASA has like almost, oh gosh, it's like in the 90% of all helium, right? They control the helium. So this is all about this area and the industry, the of course, the defense industry, but they're up to no good. They're absolutely up to no good. When what they did to Richard, what they did to President Trump, what they have been doing with the monies, the embezzling of the monies and everything, and what they have done to the people, you can tell they're up to no good. Because if they were, advancing these programs for our safety, surveilling us for our safety, against cartels, then the cartels would not be making this huge alliance that they would control almost everything in our communities, in our system, right? They would not be protecting. Um, well, there wouldn't be the Oswaldo Rodriguez Barunda and Sylvia Barunda Firth, who protects these cartels inside of our system, inside, Sylvia Brunda Firth, she's the Commission on Judicial Conduct. So if you have a bad judge, she's going to protect. And that's exactly what she did with Sam Medrano and many others. We know that for a fact. We know that for a fact. We have the receipts. And that's how we figured out who she is, as she sits on the El Paso Community Foundation. She has an in with, of course, El Diario. She has an in and control of El Paso Matters. And she, has this power to protect bad lawyers and bad judges. Her face should be right beside Alejandra de la Vega Foster's, because, of course, through El Paso Community Foundation and La Nube, I think it's La Nube, the cloud, that board, they have this. They're just up to no good, right? They're just up to no good, and and all of that is coming out. But I just wanted to put those dots together when I saw this explosion, that nobody was hurt. Thank God, nobody was hurt. That's what was reported. But what's being reported is that the damages, the cost of it all, is probably in the billions. Okay, it's a lot of money. That's how big that explosion was. It's a lot of money. They came out and said like 100,000, 150,000, hundreds of thousands, no, hundreds of millions. Sorry, hundreds of millions, and now they're saying it's in the billions. So it is a lot of money. That explosion costs. I mean, it was just huge. So, and I think that it really connects a lot of dots. And of course, spending this evening writing it all out and posting it. Um, I did a much better job than coming on a live stream at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I hope you read through that and get uh, a sense of what is happening, because the Iran, oh yes, there's surveillance drones from Iran that shows these transfers from one tanker to the next, and that is not separate from El Paso, because remember, Richard was deployed to Qatar. That's where they're at, in Qatar. ADA was in Qatar. They're in Qatar. Qatar is right there. You can say Qatar, you can say Qatar, right there in the Strait of Hormuz. This is about that. And that's when he started saying, wow, they are so bad. They are so bad. And he started reporting. It was from Qatar. It was not from El Paso. And what they were doing in the Strait of Hormuz as a military unit, and this is, you can't blame cartel there unless they're infiltrated in the military, right? Unless they are in alliance with the El Paso cartel, right? Which we know through the shipping and all of that through Nadal Bayim and his business partners, that there are, and his, of course, his son-in-law, G3 Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, that there are connections there, right? There are connections that connect Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, uh, Qatar, Kuwait, with what was going on in Mexico, in up through the pipeline to El Paso, Fort Bliss, and White Sands Missile Range, the North Calla, of course, the Zorro Ranch and Beto O'Rourke's family ranch and Cesar Duarte's ranches. Okay, they were there too. So they had this pipeline for the precursors for fentanyl coming through Iran, and fuel theft and all of the human suffering of the criminal trafficking, including children. And so this was a big operation, and it takes time to figure out how to dismantle it. And that since a year and a half, that is what President Trump has absolutely done. He's been dismantling um, dismantle it the pipeline. And this is what we're talking about. Here it is. Oops. Sorry about that. You can see here that this is, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Oh, I can do it like this. This is the treasonous treaty being signed for the surveillance, for DPS, for CBP, for the transfers across the border. This is really important, because this is where they were like, okay, we're not going to check the 18-wheelers. Okay, we're going to give you a free pass. You can bring, a lot fits into the back of an 18-wheeler. Okay, so and of course, she's standing in front of sitting in front of the Mexican flag, and this is the Chihuahuan flag. So you can see here, this is the Chihuahuan flag. This is Texas. This is Mexico. This is the U.S. Under Mexican law, this is absolutely having the Mexican flag here when she's signing a treasonous treaty without getting authorized by a federal representative, a federal government official. This is very illegal. Very illegal, can land her 6 years in prison in Mexico. So this is really important. Mexico has some of the strictest, if not the strictest, flag laws in the world. So that is really Chihuahua, Mexico for sale. This is what she's kind of saying, that Mexico is for sale, and giving access, and this is reciprocal access to all of the intelligence agencies. This is why the FBI, we know, because when we were there and when everything happened with Nadal Baim, we called our contact that was given to us during one of the meetings, and we said, "Hey, is the FBI there looking for Richard?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Yes." And we have that on record. Um, and then we have other witnesses. So the State Department absolutely confirmed with others now that the FBI were in Mexico. And now we have all of this coming out with Maru Campos that confirms that she, on her payroll, had foreign agents. And these foreign agents even had office space, and these foreign agents even were carrying M4s, and M4s were in the Walmart mass shooting. That's been confirmed through Glendon Oakley Jr., who's no longer with us. He was found not alive in April of 2020, just a couple months before Richard. So, but he was the witness to the M4s, okay? And so that was, that the CIA agents, the two that were recently killed in the ambush, um, having M4s and getting the report that the other two, uh, you know, um, were walking freely in with Carlos Manuel Salas with M4s in his building and had office space in his building and was on the payroll. And then we have confirmation that the two lead agents in the Walmart mass shooting, that were also the lead agent, David um, Scott Frost, um, was also in headquarters 1AD as an active duty soldier under Sean Bernabe. How can you be, that's so illegal. But he was um, in Carlos Manuel Salas's office, saying that they needed to stop the search of Richard's remains for Richard's remains and obstruct justice. So the pattern is very clear. It repeats over and over and over again that they were creating a shadow state, not respecting the United States or Mexico and federal governments, right? That they were just using the people like they were in their state. Yet, I don't want to be a citizen of the El Paso cartel. I don't want to be a citizen of their Plenitude crematorium. Sorry, I don't want that kind of world. And that's what they were creating in their shadow state. So, this, and I hope that helps everyone understand, because what I see in the comments and what I'm reading is that they want to blame either the United States or Mexico for what's going on, and they want to pin the countries against each other. And that is not what's going on. We have a criminal terroristic organization that was creating a shadow state, infiltrating both of our countries, misusing both of our countries, embezzling from both of our countries, and um, eh, and this is why we need to, as um, people of Mexico and people of the United States, that we need to address this treason, that was happening on both sides of the border. So, and I hope that that makes sense. So let's see if I have more pictures because I had so many. Here are the drone operators. Here's the Americans right here, drone operators working with Mauro Campos's administration. And, that is just, oh, I did bring this up too. This is the vehicle that they say just rolled over the cliff. And this is how these two CID with two investigators from Mauro Campos's administration died, right? That this was just an accident. No, this right here was not an accident. Okay, no way. I won't believe it. This was an ambush. I don't know what they did, what kind of weapon they used against them, but this was not a rollover accident. These cars that they're in, when they're doing these rogue operations or when they're doing a legitimate operation, because of course they're using legitimate sources and equipment to conduct their rogue operations, right? So this was a rogue operation, and they were using a reinforced vehicle, bulletproof vehicle, a vehicle that had a fire extinguisher inside of them. And, all kinds of security measures that turns off the fuel if something happens like a rollover. So, I've talked to a person that knows about these vehicles, and they were like, "No way was this a accident rollover of a cliff. No way." Just by looking at that picture. So, this was absolutely an ambush, and they're not reporting it. So you have to come here to hear us say, it's an ambush. Um, and this is, of course, former Marine Captain John Black. We know what he looks like, and he's one of those that were killed in this ambush. That was on the payroll of Mauro Campos, that had office space right there in Chihuahua, Mexico. Was working with her administration. And the other two that are alive, the other two CIA agents that were there that were trying to get the bodies, they couldn't. They wanted to hide the bodies like what they did with Richard's body. They couldn't get to it. It was just too bad of a situation. And they have been asked to leave. They've been asked to leave because that means, well, it's been confirmed that they were not in the country legally with the approval of the federal government. So, the Mexican federal government. So they have been asked to leave immediately. So that is this is right here Alexander Gerhard Hoffman, and I blacked out his body and the blood, and this is how I know that it wasn't Patrick Crusius, and I've posted those pictures up too. But this is a video that was online. This is the Unchando baby, I believe. This is the 99%. This is the Unchando baby. Of course, the whole case has been botched by these two FBI agents that were compromised. And this fellow here, that's very controversial, this fellow here. Um, but this video, you can see that and I posted the video up, that this is the inside right after this happened, right after he was targeted and killed. These men in here were just walking around. They even walked over to Alexander, took a picture of him lying there, and it was bad because it was bad. But the thing that I noticed watching this video is, where are the other victims? Right? Where are the other victims? Because you're supposed to have 23 victims, right? And in the news stories and everything, they were all like here at the self checkout. Well, I don't see the other victims. I don't see the injured. There were supposed to be 22 injured. Where is the evidence of injury, right? Where's the evidence of some bullets, or whatever, or blood, or, where is the evidence? Um, and this is right afterwards. So, when Alexander, uh, one of the very first victims targeted and hit, was laying there. And so we know that the whole narrative that they were feeding us through the media, and you can check for yourself, does not match the evidence. And so we know through other witnesses that this was a staged scene. Something else happened. Of course, it was bloody. Of course, there were lots of victims, but something else happened. And we know that the crime scene was not secured for 48 hours, y'all. For over 48 hours. That has been confirmed. So 2 days, this stayed unsecured, this crime scene. That's just really wow. Uh, so they were tampering. That's what that means. They were tampering. Um, but he was absolutely, the evidence is there that he was targeted. And these two guys here could absolutely tell us a lot because they were there. They could tell us a whole lot. So okay, thank you so much for all your patience today with all my pictures and everything. And I hope that that was helpful and that the videos were helpful, putting things together. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing. We've had so many shares lately. It's just amazing. And thank you to everybody that speaks Spanish and that has been translating our material into Spanish, because God bless you for that. That really, really helps get the word out. The more that the word gets out, the more that we'll get justice. That's just the way it is. We cannot rely on these judges. We cannot rely on the politicians. We cannot rely on the prosecutors. They're compromised, they're compromised. And so this is really getting the word out, and we can't, sorry, it's so late. We can't depend on the media, right? Look at this jaw-dropping evidence day in and day out, and we can't depend on them. So we really need to share this evidence and this information on both sides of the border to get justice. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow. God will. Oh, tomorrow. Yeah.